we have a problem, a design problem we need to think about. We need to discuss the design problem.
Hello and welcome to the Test Community Network. My name's Tim Burnett. I hope you're all safe and well. That's a short snippet from today's interview with Med Kharbach. He is an absolute prolific writer about assessment, AI literacy, AI within the classroom, just some amazing, incredible, just really digestible books that you can use as a parent, as a teacher, and also as an educator in this space as well. So we talk about the problems with assessment and design at the moment, the fact that we've not kind of really adjusted the way in which we design our tests, and he talks about some ideas and solutions he has for that process, and also about the kind of literacy side of things as well. What is it we need to be talking to our young generation about now in terms of getting them ready for a future with this kind of AI abundant world? So I'll give you that in a second. I've just got some quick updates regarding call for papers. So there's a lot of call for papers out at the moment. First one, we've got the IC Exchange, ICE, at Rhode Island 2026. The deadline for that is the 30th of March. So if you've got a submission you want to put in for that's USA, then do that. You've got the call for papers for the International Association of Educational Assessment. It's the IAEA. That's in Toronto, and it's the 31st of March is the submission deadline for that. And then there's been a slight extension just because of these holidays. I'm on the committee for this, so I'm aware of this one. So EATP Rome 2026. So we had a fantastic conference in Dublin last year. This time it's going to be in Rome. Deadline for that one is now the 13th of April. So you've got a little bit more of a time just if you've got the Easter breaks. And then finally we have the International Association for Computerized Adaptive Testing. That's going to be in Sao Paulo in Brazil, and the deadline for that one is slightly longer, is the 31st of May. Now there is some crossover of those events, but they're all brilliant events, and if you're a big organization you really should have representation at each of those. So on to my conversation now with Med. We're just going to completely unpack AI literacy and assessment design. So over to my conversation with Med. Welcome, Med. Thank you for joining me. Are you well?
Thank you very much, Tim. I'm glad to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Yeah. So I've been looking at one of your posts popped up in my social media feed, and I looked at your work, and I was like, wow, this Med has done so much work here, kind of talking about literacy, talking about assessment. Do you want to just kind of, anyone who doesn't know you, introduce yourself, tell us a bit more about your work, and then we'll kind of we'll delve into various different areas.
So I've been a teacher by trade. So I used to teach EFL, English as a foreign language, before I did my master's and PhD, and then started working in higher ed. I work with Mount Saint Vincent University, part-time faculty, and I do a lot of work online, a lot of work around ethic before even AI came into the scene. And so when the AI kind of revolution started disrupting the way we teach and the way our students learn, my whole focus or research focus redirected towards AI. And so I started working a lot on AI. I do some research with other scholars, especially my colleague here in the Mount, Dr. Jonathan Woodward. We've been working on a number of publications, including the book on the AI turn in academic research. And we're also working, we've finished another book with the Toronto University Press. It's on the BERA frameworks. It's a framework for integrating AI into learning. And I also have some other publications in this year. So that's just in general my own background in the field.
Yeah, you've got a lot of freely available, aren't they? The PDFs for people to download.
Yeah, and so those are I call them practitioner-oriented kind of frameworks. So when I work on research projects, this academic language is sometimes not accessible to teachers who are doing a lot of work in their classroom. So I turn a lot of those insights into guides that teachers can take with them to the classroom and use in their own teaching practice. And so that language is way more simplified and talking to the teacher from a teacher to the teacher. So that's the purpose behind those kind of guides. They are available for free for educators and teachers. Yeah. And they also come from a lot of discussions with teachers on social media, on LinkedIn. A lot of the materials there, a lot of the ideas come out of those discussions I have with fellow teachers and educators.
I think the one that caught my eye initially was what AI-literate students do differently. That was the one that initially caught my, because I've got two children, they're kind of 4 and 8, and I'm trying to, as a parent, as well as a kind of someone working within the AI space within the awarding sector and assessment sector myself, trying to navigate it from the professional space. I'm trying to think about my own children as well, and how I can educate them as best as I can to be able to navigate this world. And I noticed here, I didn't see this one actually before, Notebook LM, which I just absolutely love Notebook LM. Such an amazing...
it is.
So,
it is. It's an amazing tool. Yeah, it's an amazing tool. And I think Google did an amazing job, putting up this tool, which is, it's way better than ChatGPT or Claude for the kind of work it provides, and for free. And so, that's one of the tools I recommend to my students and to teachers as well. So we've been doing a lot of work on that. And I've written some 2 or 3 guides on Notebook LM. And so it's just amazing. Plus the new features that they are releasing, they have just released a new feature now that allows you to edit the slides that you generate. It's just amazing. So it's getting better and better even.
When's that been released then? Because I've not seen.
Just 2 or 3 days ago. So just a couple of days ago. Yeah. So now people are able to.
I'll definitely have a look at that, because I must say I was trying to mess around with Claude. Have just released a version for PowerPoint where you can put Claude into PowerPoint. So I was kind of trying to get that to work today, but I love the slide generation with a Notebook LM, so I'll definitely take a look at that.
I think the infographic one is good too.
Yeah, it's very good. I think exceptional. I think, and if you can edit those, that it would be brilliant, because sometimes there's a spelling mistake, and it's a shame.
Yeah, so it's true. It's always AI is still having problem generating images with text until this point. Even Gemini, Nano Banana still have this problem. So what I do personally, when I generate something visually speaking, I would take it to Canva, and then I would just there is a feature in Canva called Grab Text. It's for pro users, I think, and so that feature allows you to make the text in a visual editable, and so you can edit the mistakes and correct them. So that's what I use. So it's more work. I hope things will change, but it's a little bit extra work you can do. Yeah.
But if you think about where were we? Probably a year ago. So because it was only really, I think it was the ChatGPT release, wasn't it? Because DALL-E and all the stable diffusion models and things like that, they couldn't handle text at all. It wasn't like it is now, where you get the occasional spelling mistake, but they just couldn't cope with it. It was just rubbish, wasn't it, that came through?
It was.
So significant change in such a short period of time, really, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. It is a significant improvement in the capabilities of AI in general. And when it comes to text to image generation, it was always behind other capabilities. And so we always had, and the same thing with text to video, it's the same problem. So the quality is a little bit way behind. For instance, let's say the coding capabilities of AI. And so when we talk about AI output, I think I've been following these discussions from people who are working inside these companies, and they were talking about it's like a hierarchy. And so the performance of AI like ChatGPT or Claude or all of these mainstream chatbots in tasks that has to do with coding or math or statistics, they are way better compared with tasks that have to do with creative writing, creative expressions, including generating visuals. So there is some kind of discrepancy between the output in this field and the other one, and for obvious reasons, because we're talking about machines and machine learning. So I agree with you. There is a huge improvement in the quality of images that I've been. I mean, can you think about those? Now, 2022 or 2023 in AI, timeline seems like very, very far away.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. When we think about ChatGPT 3.5 or even 4 now, it looks like something very primitive compared to what we have right now.
And I think there was the benchmark that I always used in presentations was using that Will Smith eating spaghetti video generation process, because some of the very first videos that were created of Will Smith eating spaghetti were terrible. But at the time you were looking at going, this is incredible, it's amazing. But now we're in the position, which is a kind of scary position, as we're getting to the point where it's undetectable how good the quality of the video and photos are, which obviously you're coming to elections and that kind of thing coming up. That's where it starts to get quite scary. So you obviously you do a lot of work, brilliant work, and kind of putting across guides about AI literacy and assessment literacy. I want to kind of delve into the assessment side of things. Kind of at a high level, what are your kind of recommendations, or what's your kind of current position really on in assessment design in this kind of AI saturated world that we're in at the moment?
And so the way I think about assessment right now is we do have a problem of assessment literacy. And so I always like to think about AI use, including assessment, as being a problem of literacy, which is when I say assessment literacy, when I say literacy in general, and that's my background, my doctoral studies was in literacy learning. And so when I talk about literacy, I talk about a set of flexible and developing competencies and skills. And so we're not talking about a fixed kind of collection of skills. So these are skills that develop, that adapt, that stretch. And what we consider literacy right now may not have the same meaning a few years coming. Or what was literacy before, it's not necessarily the same meaning right now. And so when I say we have a problem of assessment literacy, what I mean is we need to reconceptualize the way we design our assessments. So here's the thing: if you design an assessment and the student take that assignment and provide it to ChatGPT, and then they get a passing grade. So here is the question: the assessment, or is it the student, or is it the AI? So we have three parts here. Now, some people say it's the problem of students. I would disagree. So I would say it's not only the students, and it's also the design of the assignment in general. And so we have a problem, a design problem we need to think about. We need to discuss the design problem. So we've been working with different types of assessments for a very long time. And those type of assessments, they worked in a period where the only way to answer would be for a student to sit down and work their, to work on the assessment themselves. Now we have a tool that can do that work. So now we do have something. So if we're only assessing the output of the student if our assessment, to put it another way, is based on one single submission, which is like, let's say, a written essay, then we're not actually assessing or evaluating students' learning. We're evaluating the outcome, and the outcome, it can come from different sources. So and now we know it comes from AI as well. And so in our discussions about the assessment, especially in our book with Jonathan, we like to adapt the approach that a scholar called Anna Mills talked about, the layered approach to assessment. And the academic integrity scholar Phillips Dawson, he talks about the Swiss cheese approach to assessment. So what this approach means is we have a different layers to approaching assessment. So before, let me give you an example. Before, for instance, when in my graduate courses with my students, I would have the research essay assignment. So students work on an essay for 4 weeks, and then that essay carries a significant weight for their grade. And so now with AI, I know that AI can do a lot of work for them. So what I ask them to do is, now I add different layers to that essay. So instead of just asking them to write an essay, like let's say 3,000 words, essay and that they submit to me at the end of the term. Now they have to submit only 2,000 words, but they also need to do a presentation on the essay. And more importantly, there is an assignment. It's a metacognitive assignment where they share with me their draft. For each week, they share a memo, a reflective memo, in which they reflect on the learning they were doing concerning that essay. Because I do have another assignment called in-class reflective memo, where they think about their learning that's taking place in class. And so in general, so assessment, we have a problem with assessment design. We need to work on the design of our assessment so that we create assignments that make AI use visible. And so we're not against AI use, by the way. We are for AI use, but there are certain places where it's okay to use AI, and there are certain places where we need to see the students' genuine and meaningful learning. And so making that hybrid correct connection between the two parts is where we are working at right now.
And so what's the stop, I suppose, then? So this is my understanding of what you said in terms of they have a research assignment, but on the lead up to that, they have to, I suppose, provide sample kind of submissions thinking, reflective thinking along that way. Is that on text? Is that text, or is that a verbal a submission on the lead?
That's text. Yeah, that's text.
I suppose, what's to stop them from even using AI to submit those components along the way? How does that? What could stop them in doing that?
So I'm not saying they will not be able to use AI, and so I personally do not think there is an 100 AI proof assignment or assessment. I don't think so, because AI now can do any kind of assessment. But if your assignment is only focused on a written product, one single submission on a written product, then the chances of you evaluating the wrong skills is bigger. Because here's the thing: if the outcome of the student is just a written assignment, then because we have been assessing writing as we've been using it, teachers and educators, we've been looking at writing as the single most important window into students' thinking. And so if a student provides us with a well-written essay, no matter if we are teaching writing skills or argumentation or critical thinking or anything else that has nothing to do with writing abilities and skills, if a student provides us with a very well-polished written piece, then that fluency and that accuracy of writing affects our own assessment of how. So we're mostly assessing the writing of the student. And so because we have been looking at writing as the single most important kind of as a proxy, let's say, as it's writing as a proxy for thinking. And so if they provided us with a well-written essay, we assume that students have done the thinking, they have done the synthesis, the analysis that went into the writing. So I would say we should not focus only on written outcomes. We have also to include other layers, like metacognitive layers. Will students use AI to help them write those metacognitive memos that I asked? Yes, for sure. But the thing is, they will have to struggle with AI. They will have to do a lot of work with AI back and forth. And that's very important for me as well. And so even when I tell them, show me, document to me the way you use AI, I like to focus on how they have been kind of pushing back on AI's outcome. And so, and there is the other thing is, there is a stigma around AI use. And I think personally, we should try to fight this kind of stigma. When students feel like, okay, if I use AI, my work is not really authentic, is not valid and stuff like that. So they will still use AI and they will hide it. Some students don't, but most of them, they will still use AI and they hide it. For me as a teacher, I would love to see how they use AI. And so I would say, no, there is no problem using AI. Just show me Show me your first draft. Show me what you kept, what you didn't keep. Show me where you pushed back. Show me where you think AI did something wrong, where the claims from AI is not backed up by research. So this kind of evaluation that students does regarding the output of AI is very important for me as a teacher to see and to document. That shows me a lot of what's going on behind simply that output, that product, the final product. So I want to see what goes beneath the final product, because there is a link from the task that I give them to the product, the final product. There is a link between them, and that link, that's what I'm concerned about. That's where my focus is, on what happens between the time I provide them with the task and the final product, the thinking, I want to document the whole process. And there is a problem. Just a few weeks ago, I gave a workshop to some teachers in Abu Dhabi, and I basically said some of the things I just said about assessment. And he said, how would you, he said, how many students do you teach? I said, mainly 20, 22, 18. He said, I teach 160 students.
Yeah.
How would you go through the chat drafts they have, the chat logs? How would you do all of that work with 100? And that's a valid point. That's really a big challenge for those teachers.
And I was going to say, that was my next question, really, in terms of the scalability of these techniques. And I suppose, have you seen any other examples of other approaches that people are taking, which are, I wouldn't say more scalable, because I think that, yes, there are some challenges with scalability of some assessment methods. But have you seen any other kind of approaches that people have taken for assignments and assessments, or other types of assessment that have made that transition from traditional through to kind of more AI-based activities?
Well, what I've seen is people go into traditional assessment way. So many people go to stick to the traditional way of, asking students to do the assignment in class. And so a lot of teachers go for that now. And so they don't trust AI, especially teachers who don't themselves use AI in their work, in their research. And so they tend to embrace a punitive approach towards AI, and that hurts a lot. And so some teachers, for us, for instance, in the context where I teach, most of us, they have in graduate courses, most of us, we have classes with just, the max is 20 students, 18, 16, and that makes it very, very possible to try many of the assignment types that we're talking about. And I do acknowledge that teachers teaching large classes, they do have problems with these. If ever they think about including a layered approach to assessment, then class size might be a big challenge here. I'm not sure how to do it, to be honest with you, but things are still, we are still in a field where everything we're just trying out things right now. We're still talking about a lot of the methods are just still new, and teachers are still trying out. And I've seen teachers on LinkedIn for instance, in the States, in Europe, sharing their own ways of doing assessment with students. But most of them, they focus on presentations, on memos, on documenting the processes of learning, stuff like that. Yeah.
And in terms of that, I suppose the scalability, one option is obviously to use AI to assist you in that process. So in terms of AI marking, etc., in that, and feedback, what's your kind of thoughts around that? How much do you value that approach?
And so there is this academic person whom I had a meeting with just a few days ago. She's called Sarah Pax. I think she's on LinkedIn, and she has she developed this wonderful application online. It's not yet open to the public, and we discussed her application. So what she did is she developed it's like a software that analyzes the chat logs of students. And so when students are provided with an assignment, they can use AI, but then they provide the chat logs of their interactions with AI to the teacher, to her, and she feeds that into the software, and then she developed the software around various analytic criteria, and then the software analyzes the chat and sees whether the interactions are authentic, how deep they are, and a whole bunch of skills the software analyzes. But it's using AI as well. And so we were talking about this one here as a possible solution to teachers who teach many classes. And also, even if you teach a small size class, if a student brings you a 300-page chat log, that's a lot. I mean,
that's a lot.
you can't go through all of that, and you still have a lot of work to do, your own research and stuff. So things like that, using AI to help with that is another way to look at it. But using chatbots like ChatGPT or Claude, you upload your students' assignments and stuff like that. There is some ethical concerns around that, and I'm not sure how far some teachers are willing to take it, but I personally would not. And if I am to use AI to help with the feedback and everything, and I do it, I have to make sure that the students' work is stripped of any kind of data, sensitive data or anything. So names and stuff like that. So I still have to do a lot of work before AI can help.
Yeah, I think there's different scales of that, isn't there? Because I speak to people who, so in the UK here, there's a consideration that the papers themselves or the submissions themselves by the students, they belong to the student, and as they're under the age of 16, therefore you need parental consent before you can put that in there, and that can't be. So there's all that kind of side of things. And then in the vocational space, you've got organisations people are working with apprentices who are in high sensitive working environments, and their part of their submission, their work, is to write up their work in there. So you've got to be careful about the fact that if you start feeding highly sensitive company basically information into AI, you're breaching not only your own institution's rules, but also the company's own rules. Right? So there's some big challenges there. I suppose one of the kind of areas, just to close off really in this, you're big on helping people understand their own AI literacy, and what advice do you give to people to try and set some time aside to really learn and understand these complexities, but also how they can embrace AI as part of their, I suppose, their career, and for learners and students? What advice do you give to people there?
My advice has always been to work on your mindset first, because if you're coming to AI from a background that is anti-technology, then it would be hard for you to embrace it within your teaching. So the more you use AI in your own life as a teacher or as an educator in your own work, the more open, the more friendly take you will have towards AI within your work with your students. Because the thing is, we used, just last year, I used to hear a lot of discussions about whether we should use AI or not, and now just we don't talk about that anymore. So it's a fact. Using AI is a fact now. We need to teach students how to use AI in an ethical and responsible way. That's it. We're not talking about whether we're going to use it or not. We need to help our students, including our kids, to learn how to use AI in a way to help them maximize their learning, enhance their own capabilities, and do better. And so my advice is use AI, be open to it, embrace it, adapt it into your work. Don't chase the novelty, because there's many updates coming out every single day, unless you are a person who is a tech blogger like me, chasing everything that's... You don't need to chase every new tool, and don't focus on the tool. Focus on building your AI pedagogy first. Then you can focus. And for the tools, chatbots, mainstream chatbots like Claude or ChatGPT, or a tool like Notebook is enough for teachers to work with, actually. So those, I write a lot about many tools, but I always say you don't have to use them. If you know how to prompt chatbots very well, then if you have a strong prompting skill, you don't even need other tools. You only need a chatbot. So
I completely agree. I think myself and yourself, we're the ones who are off. I don't know about you, but I've got subscriptions left, right, and center. But it's important, isn't it? We're trying to be the filter to aid people in understanding. So listen to people like ourselves. And obviously, read your guides. I think, definitely what AI literate students do is a really good one to read. But I think have that filter, but embrace it. It's there, isn't it? We need to be AI forward, not necessarily AI first, but definitely AI forward. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'll include a link to your amazing resources. Thank you for your time today. I really do appreciate that. And I look forward to hearing from you again in the future. Definitely be following you.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Thank you for that. Where have I gone? There I am. Thank you for that, Med. That was absolutely spot on. I really enjoyed that conversation. It's always lovely to meet someone that you've just never ever met before. Turn up in a studio and have a really good, in-depth conversation about a topic. I think even I reached out to Med, and Med plugged something in my diary for the session about 2 or 3 weeks down the line. So he, just such a lovely chap, willing to give his time to help. And I think you can see that from all those amazing guides. The link is there in the show notes, so you can find those there. I do strongly recommend you go up and have a look at them. Some brilliant ones in there, and I've been looking at some of those with my family as well. Well, thank you very much. Don't forget those deadlines, those call for papers that I mentioned. If you're working on an amazing project, get out there. If you are working on a amazing project and you want to tell other people outside of those that go to the conferences, then reach out, get in touch, come on the show, have a chat. I'd love to hear about what everyone's doing and learn about your work, what you're achieving, and also just take a moment just to like and subscribe the podcast wherever you're watching. I really appreciate it, and send me some feedback as well if that helps. But thank you very much, and you take care, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.